moment, we're just letting everybody into the room. Once they're in, we will then be getting started with the webinar. This is our third of our three Global Goals Weeks webinars, where we've been shining a light on different global goals and the action that young people have been taking, and helping our schools and young people learn about how they can take action on the global goals. Today is a very important session where we're going to be exploring how do we reduce conflict and foster peace in our communities. And we'll be starting the session shortly once we've just let everybody into the room. A very warm welcome to all of you who are joining us today for this session. Okay, right, we're going to now get started. So I will start again by introducing myself. I'm John Harper, Chief Executive of Future Foundations and co-founder of Global Social Leaders. And I'm proud to be hosting this very important partner panel today, which is part of a three-part series of webinars that we've been putting on for Global Goals Week. Today's session is exploring how do we reduce conflict and foster peace in our communities. And right now, I can't think of a more important session for us to be hosting and to be exploring. And I am really proud that we've been able to bring together two of our partners to share their insights into this. Because I think as educators, as parents, as young people, we do need guidance and support from those people that have the insights and how to tackle and discuss these issues in the right way. So Svitlo School is one of our GSL member schools, and they're going to be giving their unique insights. And then we've also got Never Such Innocence, who will be sharing how they have been supporting young people and educators to think about how we reduce conflict and foster peace. So before we get into the webinar, I just want to take a step back about why are we here? Why are we having this session this week and this year? This session is part of Global Goals Week, and this is an annual global celebration of to encourage us all to take action, to have awareness and accountability around the global goals. Now, last year, we held a session at this time marking halfway to the global goals, to when the world wants to have achieved those goals. Unfortunately, due to COVID and conflict, it feels like we're not on track with those goals. But this week is about how do we get back on track and partner with one another to make sure that we can together create a brighter future for us all. And that's what our organisation is about. That's what Global Social Leaders, the programme that we created back in 2013, is about. And we are hosting this event because we are a movement of schools and partners who share a vision for building a movement of young people who are socially conscious and equipped to be leaders in their lives. We put young people at the heart of this, and we want to enable young people to change the world and create a brighter world, but we don't think they should do it alone. And this was a talk that I did at TEDx last year, where I shared this, that I think young people can change the world, but we shouldn't put all of the challenges and the issues that we face onto young people to do that. We should enable them, equip them, but also do our part to support and enable them. And today's session is part of how do we have conversations with young people and involve them in the conversation, but not do it alone. And that's the structure that we put in place to support schools and young people. We enable young people to take action on the issues that they care about, deliver a project. And we've got some students joining us today who are going to be sharing the project that they've been doing. And we enable young people to do projects which are aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals, and we give them opportunities to connect and learn from other people. We also have live sessions where we connect young people around the world and their educators with each other, and then challenge them to implement the projects in their own time. And you'll hear about one of the projects that some of the students have been doing. But I won't be saying any more now about GSL because I want to get into our panel and I want to introduce them. Today we're joined by Will. He's the Programmes Director of Never Such Innocence, and he's going to be sharing with you how they've been working with schools and educators all around the world for many years now to do this. And then we're going to pass on to Yulia from Svitlo Education and her students from Svitlo School who have been implementing a project, and they'll be sharing their unique insights. I will be chairing the session and chairing the questions, and you'll have an opportunity to ask questions. If you have got questions for our panel as we go through, please do put them into the Q&A box at the bottom, and then after each presentation, I will be taking questions from you. But for now, I'm going to now hand over to Will, who's going to be presenting to you about the work of Never Such Innocence. And at the end of this session, we will be sharing how you can get involved and partner with both of these organisations who have great opportunities. So we really do want you to leave with takeaways of how you can take action on this very important topic. So without further ado, I'm now going to welcome Will, and I'm going to stop sharing and let Will take to the stage.
Thank you very much, John, for the warm introduction. Yes, as John said, my name is Will Diel. I am the Director of Programs for Never Such Innocence. Hopefully, some of you will have heard of us before. We are a creative arts charity based in London, but we work with young people all over the world, aged predominantly 9 to 18. We give them a voice on conflict using the creative arts, primarily poetry, art, speech, and songwriting. We initially started back in 2014, as you can see on our logo. We were set up as a centenary project to mark the 100-year anniversary since the end of the First World War, or beginning of the First World War, I should say. And since then, we've grown, we expanded after having spoken to some of our key stakeholders back in 2019, who said, actually, we want you to continue. There's a huge demand. There's a real need for young people to be heard on many key issues surrounding conflict. So that's what we've done over the last 5 years or so, is to develop that program. I'm just going to talk a bit today about some of the workshops we've run, some of the events we've run, and some of the techniques we might use within those, and ways that they might benefit you and the young people you work with as well. So I'll move on quickly now to this really kind of important stat that we use as well, I suppose, evidence for the need behind our work. And that is the fact that more than 1 in 6 children across the globe are living in areas affected by armed conflict. And the other 5 out of 6 are being bombarded by modern media with very graphic images of their suffering. Conflict is sadly something that we cannot escape from, but we should not turn our heads away from either. Young people are aware of it, whether they're living in the midst of it, or whether they have other young people in their classes now who've come from conflict zones themselves to the UK. So with this in mind, we suggest that a conflict affects every young person, and that is the kind of the mantra behind our work. To date, we've reached young people in 129 different countries around the world. This is primarily through our international competition that we run each year. This asks a different key question on conflict. Our current question, and our competition, which launched last week, asks how we can prevent future war. And that's something we'll come back to a little later as well. But yes, we're very lucky to have reached this many young people. I think we're now trying to make a really concerted effort to increase that depth of engagement, whether it's actually in country by running creative workshops led by our team of expert practitioners, poets, artists, singer-songwriters, who are there to get the kids thinking and writing and creating, but in a safe space and in a way that kind of suits them best. So we have our competition. As I said, we run our workshops. The top picture on the left here, you can see our poet in residence, Clive, in the center of the image. We were running a poetry session with some of our students over in Germany in Helmstedt earlier this year. On the right, you can see one of our students, Ekoa, who was presenting her work at Edinburgh Castle earlier this year as part of our 10th anniversary celebration. So our belief really is, as well as giving young people the ability to create and use their amazing imagination and use their experiences and perspectives to have their say on key issues, we then want to give platforms where those issues and those thoughts can be heard. Edinburgh Castle is just one example of that. the bottom left, you can see the Uleum in Helmstedt, where we did another roadshow early this year. And then on the right is the Military Defence main building on Whitehall, where we had a audience of esteemed guests, other young people, those high up within the military, members of parliament, and so on. The idea being that we want young people to be heard by those with the power to make change, and those perhaps who have the ability to change their lives for the better moving forward. I thought I'd now let the kids work do the talking for me, really. We find that's the best way to put that front and center. So I'll just share a few of the kind of amazing pieces of work to give you some idea of the range and breadth of topics we have. So this piece is by Suleiman in Turkey, called In Between, and it looks at the refugee crisis we currently find ourselves in. We were very lucky to actually put this piece of work on display at our exhibition earlier this year at the Royal Society of Arts in London, alongside a couple of others. This piece from Veronica in Ukraine really just leapt out at us when it first came in. And we've been trying to find as many ways as possible to share it with our various audiences. Here is another piece, The Weight of Red, from Victoria in the United States. I won't read the entirety of Victoria's statement she submitted alongside the work. But suffice to say, this piece is on school shootings and the ever-present threat that they pose in US classrooms. And another personal favorite of mine from Dennis in Bosnia. He really wanted people to think more about the Srebrenica genocide. And he did it in an incredibly poignant way with some really subtle details which you can find within this piece. I should say all of these can be found in various winners' books. These are taken from over the last 5 years or so. We have a page on our website dedicated to all of them. And you can go through and look at the work alongside each other, alongside poems, songs, and speeches. But yeah, give the work the time it deserves, because today, unfortunately, we're having to kind of flick through quite rapidly. And here we are at the Royal Society of Arts, as I mentioned, with some of the young artists from all over the world. So I think on the screen we have artists from Nigeria, Bulgaria, Sweden, the US, South Korea, and the UK as well. It was a real pleasure and a great moment for us to see this all kind of come together in a fantastic, prestigious venue such as the RSA. Which brings me on to some of our techniques. We've kind of talked a bit about the why and the importance of it, and I think the importance we all know. But it's the how we do it, I think, which is also important, and perhaps something you'll be interested in. Again, you can see on the screen Clive Sanders at our event in Germany earlier this year, and two young women who stood up and presented a fantastic poem they'd written actually over a number of years now. We'd gone back a couple of times to the same school and made a real concerted effort to engage with the various classes on a number of occasions. The girl you can see on the left of the screen had come to Germany as a refugee, as a Syrian refugee. And her friend on the right is reading a poem they've written together. When we go into a classroom, there is a big emphasis, again, on it being a safe space, on there being no requirement to write anything or share anything, let alone one's personal experiences. We employ a trauma-informed practice, which suggests that inviting people to discuss what might be quite traumatic memories just from the get-go isn't going to help anyone. So instead, we'll ask broader questions around conflict and perhaps people's understanding of it. We'll do it through the lens, perhaps, of a practitioner. Clive is a veteran as well as a poet, and he served in several major conflicts, including in Bosnia. So we use images that were appropriate for the classroom, of course, to begin asking questions and getting responses. And in turn, that then helped some of the young people in the class present their experiences in a way that they felt equipped to do, in a way they felt confident to do as well. And whether that was writing something together or having it presented by one of their friends instead of doing it themselves, we found that was really helpful and really poignant. On the right, you can see a group of young people who'd contributed work to a poetry collection marking the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement. They came together at Hillsborough Castle. And we found that having an anniversary, having something to really focus and hone in on is really helpful, whether that's the First World War or a similar anniversary such as this. I think it really it gives us a platform. It gives us a way to hone in and yeah, really focus on each specific community. Each child's experience of conflict is slightly different. Each child's the way that they view it in the media, the way that they talk about it with their friends or at home is different. But on this occasion, we could go in and use a certain anniversary, as we hope to do in future. We've also been lucky to work with other new arrivals here in the UK. Here is a roadshow we ran up in South Ayrshire in Scotland earlier this year as well. You can see our practitioner, Nick Perring, working with a group of Ukrainian young people on the bottom left. But we also had, I think there were about 110 young people in this one room on that day, which was quite a lot of different languages and abilities and ages to juggle. But luckily, we had some fantastic support staff on hand as well. And again, it was about meeting people at their level and making sure we did an exercise that everyone can engage with, whether it was on a very simple level or actually they wanted to get a lot more. So here we were just simply asking some key questions about home and things that people would want to share, and maybe that they had gained from coming to Scotland as well. So we took a couple of hours to write together, and we'd go around from table to table. We had some fantastic translators and support staff, as I said. And then at the end of the day, we came together and presented work in front of an audience of guests, which was fantastic. I should say, whilst our focus is obviously on conflict or interactions with most groups of young people are overwhelmingly positive in their tone. They emphasize personal autonomy and control over stories and perspectives. And for some, this can be the first step in building greater confidence and a sense of belonging. Coming back to this idea of trauma-informed practice, a phase-oriented approach to trauma care suggests that arts grounding can be a fantastic stage one in that step, where you're meeting someone at a place that they're comfortable, they're using words that they've chosen, but you're not assuming that they will provide answers to questions. That's something we found, particularly helpful. And we continue to welcome perspectives from all over the world. In terms of the efficacy of the work, it's obviously something hard to judge because one child can take something and another child can take something entirely different from the work. But this quote from Ursula, which came out of the event which I just mentioned, was really great for us because it said actually we are doing the right things, we're on the right track. I'll just read the latter half of it, which is, I've been very careful so far in my work with not wanting to elicit things that could potentially cause harm to the person who shares or the person who hears the story. But yesterday's event has proved to be somewhat of a turning point. And that for us is brilliant because, of course, we can't track the long-term effects on that child. But if the teachers who know these children best are saying, actually, this is what was right for them, then that's perfect. Okay, I'm going to wrap up now as I'm past time. I'll hand back over to John. But thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Will. I mean, that was really powerful and insightful. And I think it's great to hear from, from the educators, just the role that arts and poetry can play in helping people have this conversation. And I suppose my sort of quick questions I have, and obviously there'll be questions and opportunity for anyone to ask Will any questions at the end. But if anyone does have a question that they would like to ask Will now, before we hand over to Yulia, you please just pop it in the Q&A and we can ask that now, or if questions come up that you want to ask towards the end, we'll have that opportunity. But I suppose I just want to maybe just quickly or briefly here, it's got a big question, like how do you make sure that young people feel safe and supported when they're exploring? And I suppose an educator is working with young people and asking them to take part in a competition around this. And is there any sort of particular guidance or tips that you give? And I'm sure at the end you can signpost to those, but I just wanted to just ask that question to you.
Sure, thank you, John. I think first and foremost, it's recognizing that every classroom we go into is different, and preparing our practitioners as best we can to work with that unique group of children. That's having conversations with the teacher ahead of time about specific needs or perhaps experiences, recognizing that conversations on conflict can be, really quite complex, and it's not something we can necessarily cover in issues we can't necessarily cover in that kind of 90-minute window that we're normally given. But I think it's about taking that's kind of careful and sensitive, methodical approach, but at the same time going in and just speaking to the young people as people, I suppose, as any of you would. I think by not assuming, again, that their lived experiences are something they wish to discuss, but perhaps something you can invite them to, should they wish. It's, again, reiterating that sense of a safe space, which I think is paramount. If we can go back and have a number of different workshops at the same place to explore issues in greater depth, then we will. But I think, yeah, it's coming in as equipped as possible from our perspectives, and equipping our practitioners too, whether that's sending them to do training ahead of time or discussing it in depth with them.
Fantastic, thank you. And I think what you're doing is such important work and such a support for educators around the world. So I'm now going to pass over to Julia, who's going to be sharing with you all a bit about Svitlo School and the amazing work that they do. And then she has two students joining us today who will also be sharing. So over to Julia.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you, Will. I never get bored of hearing about your projects. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Julia Kosko. I'm the founder of Svitlo School. Unlike many charities, I think, we started without a business plan, without the kind of big mission and goal, but very quickly, as a response to the Russian invasion, which was not expected. And I am Ukrainian, but I've been living in the UK for 20 years. I worked here as a primary school teacher, and then I run an education consultancy. So in March 2022, it put me in a very privileged position to be surrounded by educators and parents and the kind people who were concerned about what was happening in Ukraine, of course, on the global scale, but also particularly wanted to help and wanted to get involved with helping children in Ukraine affected by the war in early days. So what I did is I got in touch with the school that I used to go to in Zaporizhia, southeast of Ukraine, and we organized some lessons with volunteers that I gathered here in the UK. And within 2 weeks, my life has taken a completely different turn, where I felt that I had the power to do something. I felt that I could make changes, and that was very important for me. And the 40 volunteers that we have had by the end of 2 weeks, and 100 children in Ukraine. So we started with a simple Google form, but very quickly lots of lovely people, including John and other organizations, came on board. And we're a registered charity now with last academic year, we had 500 pupils joining almost daily. We have a flexible curriculum. And this year we started with 120 new pupils joining us in September. So very proud of our mission to empower young Ukrainians to become global citizens, social citizens, aware of their future, confident enough and feeling empowered to make a difference in their future as well. Now, 2.5 years on, since the start of the full-scale invasion, Unfortunately, the educational system and situation in Ukraine does not look very promising in a way of preparing the future generation for leading the country after the war. Jonathan, next slide has some statistics on, this is actually a bit outdated already from last year, but we can see that lots of children were displaced, lots of children lost their school physically. We had a few pupils in Kharkiv whose school has been bombed on Saturday when they were at home, luckily, but still they don't have it physically. And even though we started as a kind of desperate move when there was just disbelief and fear in place, there's still disbelief that the war is still going on, but we're not afraid anymore. We are in charge of our future, and that's what we try to portray to our pupils as well. We have built an amazing community of children, which you can see on the next slide. This is just a few of our lovely, pretty faces and beautiful minds who connect to our lessons. As I said, almost daily. Our curriculum is flexible, so children can decide how to shape their future, which lessons to attend. And we have very important objectives by providing high quality education through our lessons, through partnerships, through projects like GCL and many others. We have created safe and stable community, which is extremely important in such turbulent times that Ukraine is experiencing now. We have been nicknamed by children as second family, which is very pleasing as well, of course, because just earlier today, two students were presenting to their Ukrainian pupils online about Svitlo School and trying to encourage other children to join us. And the way they were speaking, it's very hard to make children say things, isn't it? At least I've never succeeded with my own children. So when they speak from the bottom of their heart, saying that Svitlo changed them in a way that no matter how loud the night has been, or the bombs that they have had in their neighborhoods destroying buildings, they feel that there are people who would support them, who they can send a message and get some response, and that support and the safe place during our lessons when they connect to lessons, and our teachers are happy to see them and engage them in their lessons. I think it's extremely important, probably more important than the actual knowledge and education, which is at a very high level. Of course, as well. We also encourage confidence and critical thinking. Again, GSL has helped a lot in that, but a lot of our lessons are focusing on analytical thinking, on being able to learn how to tell propaganda from a fact, and all those skills, life skills, like writing an email, LinkedIn, how to make a LinkedIn page, etc., which are not taught in school. So we are a great complement to Ukrainian education. I don't know if Ministry of Education of Ukraine are listening to us now, but I think hopefully eventually we will get some recognition for that. And then, of course, we are trying to build a sustainable model to support young people all over the world, and that's our future plan as well. That's how Svitlo School, Svitlo Life looks like. So in the middle, we have a beautiful lamp, which is Svitlo, and Svitlo means light in Ukrainian. We have school life rather, which is very important part. So we have student council with the brightest minds and hardworking children contributing to the development and running of the school. We have house system, a lovely British educational feature which encourages children to gain points, to take part in competitions, to feel part of a smaller community, and create friendly competitive spirit. We have assemblies, some are led by children, which is amazing, and also a way to connect and chat and get to know each other. Competitions I mentioned as well. Buddy system and reading buddies is something that we're developing, where younger children stepping into these roles of leaders and teaching English, or making sure that to younger pupils, but also having them as buddies. So make sure that new young pupils joining us feel supported and have that friendly face and telephone number to speak to when they're not sure about some parts of student school life. We have student-led lessons. I've been watching a few new ones from this academic year. We have a German club, we have creative writing and music club, and lots of interesting lessons run by our children themselves, by our pupils. And the cherry on top is probably our summer trips. So last year was the initial year, the first year when we connected with summer schools in the UK, and we had pupils coming to the UK to feel their childhood, what it is like to be a child again, and sleep through the night and enjoy seeing a plane in the sky. That's something that I was very surprised by when children were. I was in London trying to meet as many as possible of them both summers, and it was absolutely lovely to be able to partner up with summer schools and give them this opportunity to feel the confidence and make new friends and experience new cultures. And then we have our lovely creative curriculum, which we have created ourselves. So, Will, you'll be pleased to know that we have creativity side of it as well. John, if you click your cursor a bit more, you can see some of the lessons. They change depending on our volunteering teachers, but art therapy and just talking about different topics through discussion and through philosophy club as well are very important to deal with the war, with the conflict, and try to find ways to move on. We have well-being like yoga and meditation, and we have pastoral care and following virtues. We have 50 virtues that we follow with a leader and make sure that it's run through different lessons. So lots of lovely things that are part of the school. And on the next slide, I think it's a very visual, very well presented visual way of showing an experiment, which I think is quite popular. Maybe you've heard of it. But basically, if the fleas are placed in a sealed jar for 3 days, when the jar is open again, they lose the ability to jump out, and they will never jump out higher than the jar anymore, and their offsprings will not jump out higher than the jar anymore. And I think it's a very good way of showing how your surrounding and this invisible lid or dome changes generations of pupils, of children in any conflict zone. And, considering that I can speak on behalf of Ukraine, especially in this webinar, but in general, I'm sure it's the same or worse in other places. But when your country is close to the world, when there are no native speakers in the country, when you don't have opportunities to travel freely, it could have a very drastic effect on the next generation. And then my worry would be that there are lots of examples in the world where the war has not been handled very well. And then after even the victory or, after the conflict, the conflict repeated itself because the next generation were not ready to have those kind of democratic values and rebuild the country and take it forward. So we are trying to prevent that, and Ukraine is doing a great job, I think, with many organizations. And Svitlo's job with our partners is to give this opportunity to young pupils from the age of 10 to 18 at the moment. But we're thinking already of, because we had some pupils turning 18 and they don't want to leave us. So we are going to create 18 plus class as well. And nobody will explain it better than our pupils. So I'm going to hand over to Andriy and then Anastasia, who took part in GSL project last year, and they're going to carry on with it actually this year as well. So Andriy, this is the team. Could you please tell us a little bit more about your experience of being part of GSL?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So, hi everybody. This is me, Andriy, a simple bloke from a small and tiny village located in the central part of Ukraine. And first of all, I want to start with thanking everybody for this awesome opportunity to speak today to you. I'm really grateful for that. I'm thrilled to speak to you right now. And I would also like to share to you some of my experiences in Svitlo School. So I would say that approximately 2 years ago, I was just an ordinary student in my local school, too busy with homework and all that stuff that students have to go through. I mean, everybody knows that. And back then, I was really interested in enhancing my spoken English. So I was only starting to look into various applications and online schools where you could do just that. But then the war broke out, sadly, and of course it was really hard to accept the new ruthless reality that we students and all the Ukrainians in general had to live in. And needless to say that all the pressure and stress has affected our learning progress tremendously. And delving a bit deeper in this topic, I even remember not going to school for about 2 weeks in the beginning because there was chaos, literally. I mean, people didn't know what to do at all. But nevertheless, as the time went on, the general situation more or less stabilized. Well, I don't even know if you can call that stabilized, but the majority of people then have reached acceptance, so to speak, and had to learn how to adapt to the new circumstances. And I remember really vividly that one time in the evening when I was scrolling the Facebook feed trying to find something to entertain myself, uh, I just a publication about Svitlo School popped up on my page, and that's how I got to know with Svitlo School. I quickly got interested because at that time I was really trying to look for certain classes to improve my English. I signed up for the introduction meeting. I learned how it all worked and realized that. And now looking back at what I did back then, I realized that it was probably one of the best decisions I could make at that time. Because I mean, I have gone through a lot of stuff, and I'm a part of Svitlo for probably 2 years now, and I undeniably can say that this school has given me so much that I cannot even express that into words, because I got into a new wonderful community of students that I didn't have in my local school, where who and that community everybody supports each other, and you get to meet new people. You get to learn English with native speakers for free, and I mean, isn't it wonderful? And I mean, just this summer, I had an awesome opportunity to go to the MPW summer school in London. That the travel was sponsored by Svitlo, which I'm really grateful for, because I believe that was definitely my first time leaving the country. And needless to say that I was really thrilled to actually talk to native speakers when they're right in front of me. So, I mean, yeah, that was, I guess, the best experience of my life. And I just wanted to say that after some time, our Svitla team came up with an idea to set up an online library with English literature for other Ukrainian children to learn the language more efficiently. But I can definitely tell and make an emphasis on the fact that one of the main incentives for us while working on the newborn idea was restoring the learning process that has really suffered from the war, because we know the big toll that it takes on every single student, and I mean how hard it is in the world we live in. So I mean that's how it all started, and now it's going really well. And we also have new wonderful plans that we are about to turn into reality. So, yep, that's my story. And I'm going to pass it on to Anastasia. What do you think about it, Nastya?
Thank you so much, Andrei. I'll just interfere for a second. Nastya, could you introduce the project to us and tell us what you guys are doing and how you are taking it to the next stage in the second year?
Well, I was delighted to work on a project like this. My name is Anastasia, and I'm speaking to you from a small city in the east of Ukraine, which is called Zaporizhia. And I want to express my sincere gratitude to the opportunity that global social leaders and Svitlo Education gave to us. I can say that Svitlo occupies a special place in my heart because they taught me to hold on until the end. And I would like just to go on a project of which we are launching right now. So being in a project, I realize how important it is to be able to work in a team. And as one of the educators said, it doesn't matter how high you jump. The main thing is how far you go. And in fact, these words were deeply reflected in my heart because it is with a team that you can reach the top and develop more and more. And during the project, our Svitlo reads or Svitlo library, we can say like that. Honestly, I learned a lot how to work with the team. I learned to be patient because we will launching it for a year, I think so. Maybe a bit less. But yeah, like that's fascinating what we can do, just teens. And well, together with 7 guys working on our library every day. We recently finally launched it, and we even got our first clients who are keen to learn something new. And yeah, in fact, it is very pleasant to realize this because just recently we were only thinking about our goals, how we want to do that, how we can create our website and so on. And this project, I say about Svitlo Reads, taught me to never give up, even if there is no light at home, no time, sometimes even no confidence. You should never give up because then you grow up and realize what you're worth it. And well, our main idea is to give the opportunity to teenagers or young people to read the books in English, because we're really delighted to share with our knowledge to the whole people of Ukraine. And yes, that is how it is going on right now. And we're just launching our page. You can see that on the screen. That is our startup project that would be that would give the opportunity to a lot of people. And what I can say is that Svitlo School was a key aspect and motivation for our project, because we have also separate courses in Svitlo for developing leadership, like career success, and even a small job for students, where I learned the leadership skills that I have now, and also other students can also say like that, because of the opportunity which was given to us. We have nothing to worry about and only continue to go where we were going, developing abilities and our goals. And we're working together. We often make calls if we don't understand something, or we constantly ask questions, or we constantly asking for help. And I think it is essential component that helps develop a student as a person, and also a student as a leader, and just as a part of the team. So it is very valuable. And well, and it is also really important to stay motivated in the face of difficulties, and remembering the bigger picture and the impacts of the projects that can have in the future. And I personally try to keep a positive mindset and draw strength from the support of those around me, especially my team, Svitlo School, Yulia, Daria, and especially during tough moments. And resilience for me comes from believing in the cause and knowing that every setback is a learning opportunity that makes me stronger. So thank you so much for the opportunity that you gave me to speak here. That's all.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nastya. John, did that cover it?
Yeah, I mean, that was absolutely amazing. So just thank you, Andrea, and thank you, Anastasia, and also thank you, Yulia, for sharing the work that you've been doing. And I think, when I think about education and what's education about and what schools are about, and then us as educators, I sometimes sort of teachers are like, do we have time for a program or project like Global Social Leaders, because we've got so much going on in the school? And almost sometimes my answer is sort of back is almost you almost don't not have time. You've got to make the time for that extracurricular. And as someone said to me recently in a talk, they said, let's take the extra out of extracurricular and that be the curricula. And then when you presented Svitlo School, you said the curriculum, and it was almost the richness of those. And I think for me, when we're facing such challenges, it's just amazing to see the almost, rather than going for the basics. And I think I think back to all of us post-COVID, people almost went, right, we've got to go back to the basics, catch up, make sure that the literacy and the numeracy is right. Extracurricular was pushed out in many schools. What you've gone for is a really holistic program and activities, and then you've challenged the young people to do projects. So I suppose my big question almost to all of you is yeah, how are you, with all the challenges behind, like how are you making the time and the space to be able to do this? And then I believe Andrea and Anastasia, you're in sort of school sort of sometimes during the days, and then you're logging on to Svitlo later in the day, and I'm just sort of wondering how that works. And I think it's just interesting for, I suppose, all schools and people to just think about how we make time and space to do activities and projects like this. So just wanted to kind of ask that question. How do you do it despite all the challenges that you're facing?
Well, just adding to that information, I also study in university right now, and this year, I mean, my student life has started from this year, and you know, it's been really tough. It's been really hard to manage both Svitlo and my studies. But after all, every now and then, I mean, it's just fun. Every now and then, I just come from my classes at the uni, and I just hop on some on a class, and I mean, that's just the way, I guess, every Svitlo student spends their time, because that's our choice. It's our choice to log on to the class, because we really gain pleasure from it, and that's basically how it works. And that's the equivalent of spending time with pleasure, and while also learning for us.
Wonderful. Thank you, Andrei. But I think it's important to mention as well that you're studying English in university, right? And
Yep.
you told me in London that Svitlo School inspired you when we met. We talked about it. And I can speak on behalf of many pupils because we have them from all over Ukraine and other countries as well. So we have created this social structure for Ukrainian pupils, not just in Ukraine. Some of our pupils had to be displaced, sorry, and it's actually, as Andrei put it, because it's we managed to create this lovely environment, atmosphere, and friends that they come and connect to. It's probably, you know, it becomes kind of natural. Instead of watching TV, that's what people do, or instead of like other leisure activities that they might be able to do. And Jonathan, going back to extracurricular or basics, for many, so you know, some pupils have life lessons in university, like Andrei does, but some don't. So some towns, areas are completely without physical access to schools, and then sometimes there are power cuts, so they can't access, you know, the actual life lessons in Ukrainian school, and also basically for many, we are the main source of education, but in English. So we are an extracurricular school, but I think when I was teaching, I had a very good mentor who told me, if you don't have the basics in your class, you cannot teach them education. And basics for her were behavior, attitude, and feeling safe and ready to listen. So I think these are the main basics, not numeracy and literacy. AI will do all of that soon anyways. We need to bring up happy children who are confident and who want to create.
I love that. We need to bring up happy children. That's really just that important message, just thinking how we create that space and time for that. Anastasia, did you want to just jump in there and just give any thoughts following on what's said?
Well, I just agree with what was said before. Like Andrei said, that like it is crucial to and tough sometimes to combine a lot of things in life. But I personally have 3 schools. I'm studying in Svitlo School, in my Ukrainian school, and also in Pearson Line Academy in America. I also have some work. I'm working as a tutor, and it's tough sometimes, but if you know your goals, if you know what you want to achieve in the end, then it's not a big deal to just work hard. Sometimes it's better to work smart, not hard. If you have something that inspires you, that motivates you, like Svitla, then like especially if you have the environment that can inspire you every day and motivate fully, then you can achieve anything. You can achieve everything. Just go there and do whatever. And because I see the results I have now, like I can say that it's worth it. It's worth it to just burn, not burn out, but burn like and make fire in the heart, to achieve some great results, because it's also work not only externally but also internally as a person, and because of that it's worth it to try as a um as a young mind. So yeah, so I really appreciate it that I have the opportunity from this really young age. So thank you.
Well, thank you, and just I suppose what wonderful advice. And I think that video that Yulia played of the flies, and just how we can put limits on ourselves and our potential, and what Svitlo School is doing is creating that environment where that lid can be taken off, and you can see that despite the challenges that you face, you can still do amazing things, and you are. And we really appreciate you sharing. I think it's been really inspiring for me, and I'm sure for those joining today and for those that watch this in the future. I'm sure we're going to invite Will back on, so I'm going to add him to the panel link, and I'm going to let Will sort of share a little bit more about how you can get involved with Never Such Innocence and the work that they're doing after this. And then I'll invite back Yulia to share how you can get involved and learn more about Svitlo School and support and partner with them as well, because it's an incredible school. And I think, for anybody that does partner with them, any schools, educators, students, I think you'll get just as much from them and learning as they will get from you. So it's really about, I think, creating these partnerships and collaborations and seeking to be understood and inspired by each other, and together we can support ourselves and create that brighter future. So, and if there are any questions, please do put them in the Q&A box, and I'll try to come back to those. But I do want to make sure everyone leaves clear on opportunities and next steps that you can take. So I'll just bring Will back up, and Will, if you do want to share any slides or anything just on next steps, please do.
Yeah, thank you very much, John. Well, I just wanted to say before I do that, thank you guys so much for sharing and for talking a bit about your experiences and the crazy workload that you've been able to kind of juggle. I think it's so impressive, and the way that you've spoken today as well has been really inspiring. So yeah, thank you for sharing, and great to hear from you, Yulia. I hope we can do some work together as well. Okay, just got a couple more slides. Here we go. So, as I mentioned briefly earlier, our international competition is now open. That is open to all young people aged 9 to 18 from every country. And it's asking the question, how can we prevent future wars? So if you have a poem, artwork, speech or song you'd like to send us, or you have students who like to be involved, please don't hesitate. You can find out more information on our website, which is neversuchinnocence.com. You can also follow us on socials at neversuch. And if you'd like to organise a workshop, as I discussed, if you're based in the UK, or you'd like to do something virtually, we can do that as well. By all means, please do drop me a line. We offer CPD sessions for teachers as well. So yeah, go for it. I will keep it brief.
Thank you very much, Bill. And I'm just going to bring up Julia and myself. Cool. And then I will share just some initial next steps from our side, and then I'll invite Julia to share from Svitlo School. So from Global Social Leaders, if you're an educator or young people, you can get involved in Global Social Leaders, and then we support your young people and your educators to do social action projects. We believe that enabling young people to take action on the issues that impact them, enabling them to do projects around the Sustainable Development Goals really does help them develop the attitudes and skills they need for life. And we take them on a learning journey where we encourage them to step back, explore the problem they see, inquire into how they can take action, then take the action, and then capture what the impact has been on themselves, what learning they've had, and then what impact they've had. And for us, it's about capturing that double impact. And whatever project they're doing and whatever goals they're doing, learning that it's about them becoming a leader in their life and society for life. So whether or not they feel their project has succeeded or failed, the most important thing is that they develop skills that will equip them for their lives. You can find out more about joining Global Social Leaders on our website, and that provides the structure and also provides you access to projects such as that were shared today. Svitlo Reads is on our website. You can read more about that, but there's hundreds and hundreds of different projects aligned with different development goals, and you can go and have a look at those projects, and all the reports and photos are written by young people. As we said, this is part of a series for Global Goals Week. World's Largest Lesson has also put together a toolkit. So if you want to find out how you can support your students to learn more about the global goals before they then think about what action they want to take, there is a free toolkit available on the Global Social Leaders website for you to download. I now invite Julia to share a little bit about how you can get involved in Svitlo School.
Thank you so much, John. John, before the slide, can you go 2 slides down, back, please? I just want to share the QR code for Svitlo Reads. The idea of the project, if you haven't figured it out yet, sorry, we didn't explain it in too many details, is that we have books in English from the UK sent to Ukraine, and then people in Ukraine can either sell them for very, very reasonable price, or they can borrow them and read and come back and send back to our team. Svitlo pupils are in charge of the project. They're the one doing the leading the Instagram page, and we have a website page for it. So if you want to get involved in the project or just with Svitlo, there are different ways to do it. You could either give us some books, or you can help us fundraise for sending the books to Ukraine. You could bring awareness of the project, particularly if you work in a school. We have some authors lined up, doing some sessions for Svitlo pupils as well about the books that they have written to inspire. And you can also, of course, volunteer as a teacher, as your skills, and partner up with us. So Anastasia mentioned that she's in Pearson Academy Online studying on full bursary. We have a few other schools like Highgrove School Online, and a few others who have given bursaries to our pupils to get certificates from abroad while being still in Ukraine. So if you have a new idea that I haven't mentioned, also please do get in touch. And then the other slide has some QR codes with my LinkedIn page and Svitlo website. We have lots of lovely videos on YouTube channel that were edited by pupils as well. So please do have a look, and www.svitloschool.com, as easy as that. All the information hopefully will be there. And we are very excited in speaking to new people and learning about new projects. And we're definitely booking that lunch in your office, and I already shared the link for the competition with Svitlo pupils, so hopefully there will be lots of entries.
Thank you very much, Julia, and thank you as well to Anastasia and Andre. And if you want to come back onto screen, you can do it. And we are going to finish up with just inviting Will is just going to read with you one of the entries that that we've had from one of the students. So I'm just going to bring that up. So we just wanted to close by Will sharing one of those entries with you, which I think will help us just reflect on the impact of using art to explore how do we reduce peace, how do we encourage peace and reduce conflict in our world. But before I let Will read that, I just want to say a massive thank you to Will, to Yulia, to Anastasia, to Andre. This has been a really fascinating and inspiring panel, and really has helped us all just think about how do we create that safe space and that environment for us all to create a more positive and brighter future, and remove those challenges that we are facing in the world right now. So over to Will.
Thank you, John. So we try and bring work into conversation with each other, really. So we have these two pieces, one piece of art from Bulgaria and another poem from England, entered into different competitions, but they just seem to really fit so well together that I wanted to share them here. But this is New Girl by Jessica. She's new here, we're told, not old enough to know, but sat in the corner, she lacks her childhood glow, doesn't speak even a creak, despite how we shriek, too strange for us to change, so diagnosed a freak. Then we see her grey eyes filled with grey tears, and suddenly we see in her all of our own fears. Bruises on her wrist, she's been snagged and dragged. To think while she suffered, we nagged and bragged. This is our home, she has been forced away, all alone. Not her own, her light of a life has been granted on loan. She used to sing and dance like all the rest of us. Now she sits in silence, reliving the violence as we discuss. I go over and ask her in my best voice, come and play. But she stares, empty, and just walks away. But she has been shattered like clay in a giant's hand by the big, scary leaders who will never understand. There was a new girl in class today, and she wouldn't play. For her little beating heart has been treated like prey. There was a new girl in class today, and she sits all alone because what she's doing is dreaming of home.
Thank you very much, Will, for sharing that with us. And you can find out more and let your students take part in Never Such Innocence. I think it's showing that poem also the impact both on young people who are affected directly and indirectly. And we all need to be having these conversations now, thinking about this, and with the support of organisations such as Never Such Innocence, I think we can have those conversations with more confidence. And I think we need to be learning and speaking and reaching out to and working, collaborating with organisations such as Svitlo School. So I'll finish this webinar by saying you all a big thank you for joining. And if you want to find out more about any of the organisations, you can do on the Global Social Leaders website, and we will be sharing again this recording so that you can share it with your students as well afterwards. Yeah, a big thank you for joining us all today. I'll bring back on all of our panelists onto the front so that you can say goodbye, and I will say another big thank you to them as well. So just bring everybody on. So there we are, Anastasia, Andre, Yulia, Will, massive thank you. And I look forward to seeing how you will collaborate with each other and we will collaborate with each other, and how those that have been joining us today or watch this future recording will get involved with our organisations. Thank you, everybody, and a lovely sort of thank you coming in the chat. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
And we'll be closing the room now.
Thank you, John.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.